Hello, it's Marie Doucette, and I'm here to talk to you today about Chapter 4 on short-term memory. So memory is the process of retaining, retrieving, and using information from stimuli around us. The stimuli can be like images or events or ideas, all that basically everything around us. So encoding is the process of transferring the stimuli from the environment into format of memory. And storage is the process of retaining that information in various parts of memory to be used at a later time. We learn, through the three R's: recall, recognition, and relearning. Recall is a way of retrieving information consciously from memory without the information being directly in front of you. Recognition is a way of retrieving information from memory from the information being directly in front of you. And relearning is the measurement of this retrieval, measuring how much less work it takes for you to learn information that you studied before. So the history of memory dates back as early as 1890, when William James distinguished between primary memory and secondary memory, which is the primary is short-term and secondary is long-term memory. Later, Ebbinghaus, and I hope I said that right, experimented on memory, found that more times you rehearsed out loud on day one, the less times you needed to relearn or memorize the same letters on day two. He also created an equation to express this information, and that is savings equals the original time to learn the list minus the time to relearn the list after a delay times 100 divided by the original time to relearn the list. So it's pretty cool. You can figure out the percentage of time you saved by the next time. So the structure of memory can be divided into different mechanisms: sensory memory, short-term working memory, and long-term memory. And this is known as the modal model of memory. Sensory memory is the first stage, and it's where you receive the input from your environment and stores it for about a second or so. And there are three types of sensory memories. One is iconic sensory memories for visual stimuli. The second is econic, and that's auditory stimuli. And then the third is haptic memory, and that's touch stimuli. There are different modal models of memory attention models of memory, not modal. That's Brodenberg's filter model is one of the first. That's an early selection model suggesting that there's a bottleneck of information. So basically that sensory information enters and it goes to a filter, and then from there, only attended information is detected and stored into short-term memory. And I apologize. Then there is Tridesman's attention model, and it's like a two-stage model. And it's where the filter is replaced by an attentionator. I hope I said that correctly. In this model is known as a leaky filter model. So basically, all information passes from sensory memory into the attentionator, but the attentionator analyzes language that has meaning and then language that doesn't have meaning, and the language that has meaning is attended to more than the other language. So the secondary step is the dictionary, and that's where your words have a high or low thresholds for being activated. Common words like your name are going to be activated at a higher rate than other uncommon names. So the late suggestion models suggests that all information gets stored in short-term memory, and only when the final processing of meaning takes place does the selection of the messages to remember occur. So that there was an experiment done by McKay, and the participants were asked to listen to messages presented in the left ear and ignore messages presented in the right ear. And they found that the right ear did bias the interpretation of what they remembered from the left ear. This suggests that all messages get through, but that, so based on these attention models, it has been shown that sometimes memory filters out stimuli early and at other times later on, depending on the nature of what we're doing. So short-term memory is the second part of the modal model and short-term memory is limited for the amount of time, or you can store a limited amount of information for a limited amount of time before it is forgotten, or it can be rehearsed and transferred into long-term memory. So capacity of short-term memory, thoughts vary. There's a 7 plus or minus 2 or 4 plus or minus 2 for visual stimuli. Memory strategies are included in this section, and different memory strategies are like chunking. This is where you take a very large number or a very large word and you chunk it into several different sections and remember different sections at a time. Then there's acronyms can be learned to remember. There's like the most common, I'd say PEDMAS, and anybody who's taken a math class knows what that is. And then there's also training. So like you'll see players that do chess, they do a lot of training to remember certain strategies.